It didn't begin with the dog. It began with 3 paragraphs. 3 paragraphs of explanation for one missed day. I read them twice. Not laughing. Just noticing the shape of the words. I read 3 paragraphs about a sick dog. Something's been bothering me lately. I saw a post the other day. Someone wrote that they couldn't come to work because their dog was sick. They added a long explanation. Why the dog mattered. Why it had to be them at the vet. Why no one else could go. The post was 3 paragraphs long. For a sick dog. I didn't laugh at it. I read it twice. Because what struck me wasn't the dog. It was the 3 paragraphs. The way the words kept reaching for more proof. As if a sick dog wasn't enough on its own. I think I've written posts like that. Not exactly that, but the same shape. Long explanations for small absences. Strange reasons for ordinary tiredness. The kind of message you send when you can't just say, "I'm tired. I need a day." So I started asking. Just to myself, at first. The simplest answer is the hardest to say. Why do people give strange reasons for wanting to rest? Maybe somewhere, they were told resting needed a reason. That's a hard one. It is. I mean, it's not that simple, right? Sometimes people really do have a sick dog. Sometimes they really do have a flat tire and a doctor's appointment and a wedding all in the same week. I know. But sometimes the reasons get strange because the real reason feels too small. The real reason being just tired. Maybe. When you're raised to earn everything, plain tiredness is hard to believe in. So you bring evidence. You bring stories. You bring a sick dog and a long explanation. The reasons aren't lies, exactly. The reasons are receipts. We pay for tiredness with paperwork. When I think about it, I see it everywhere. People at my old job used to come in sick. Coughing into their sleeves at the meeting. Eyes glassy. Voices half gone. Nobody made them. Nobody actually said you can't be sick. They just came in. Then on a Friday afternoon, the same person would suddenly say their cousin was visiting from out of town and they had to leave at 3. The cousin was real. But also it was Friday afternoon and they were tired and they had been tired for weeks. The cousin was the receipt. I read about something like this once. A lot of people admitted they go to work sick on purpose. They save their sick days for something they think will count more. That part stayed with me. Sick was real. But somehow, sick still wasn't big enough. People drag themselves in. They recover slower. They make other people sick. And still, they come in. Because being honestly tired isn't a reason that holds up. That's what gets me. Not the dishonesty. The opposite. The honesty would have been, "I'm tired. I need a day." But honesty doesn't always have a certificate. Some sadness is real but doesn't have a doctor's note. Some tiredness is real but doesn't have a fever to prove it. And so people invent something the world will accept. A sick dog. A wedding. A cousin from out of town. The reason gets stranger and stranger because the real reason is too small to be believed. We pretend we're fine. Then we do it again. I do this too. Last winter I was sick for 3 days but I told my team I was fine. I worked from bed, half the time staring at the screen unable to read what I'd written. On the 4th day I crashed. I couldn't get out of bed. My partner asked what happened. I said, "I'm just so tired." She looked at me for a long time. Then she said, "Why didn't you just say that on day 1? I didn't know how to answer. I read about someone who listened to people for a long time. She kept noticing one thing. The people who seemed more whole had given up something specific. They had stopped wearing exhaustion like proof. They had stopped treating productivity as evidence of being a good person. It sounds simple when I say it like that. But for a person trained to earn rest, giving that up feels like giving up an identity. I think that's why I work from bed. The sick body wasn't the problem. The body was honest. The problem was the part of me that needed to keep producing in order to feel like I deserved to exist that day. Because if I stop, who am I? If I just rest because I'm tired, what does that say about me? The strange reasons aren't a moral failing. They're a shield. A way of saying, I'm not lazy. I have a real reason. The real reason just happens to be a sick dog or a cousin or a flat tire. Not me. Never just me being tired. What if the strange reason isn't a lie? So I asked again. Why do I do this? Why do I drag a sick dog into it instead of just saying I need a day? Maybe somewhere, you started feeling like just being a person wasn't enough. That hit something. I sat with it for a while. Because it tracked. Somewhere I can't even remember. Childhood, school, first job, maybe all of them, I started believing rest had to be earned. Not given. When I'm tired without a clear reason, I make a reason. Because the unspoken rule, the one I never quite shook, said, tired isn't enough. You need a story. The strange reason isn't a lie. It's a translation. I'm translating I'm tired into a language the world accepts. The language has rules. The rules say, sickness counts. Family emergencies count. Travel delays count. Just being tired doesn't. So I translate. Some sadness has no certificate. No paper. No fever. No official name. But it still sits in the body. The translation never quite works. I send the strange reason message and the day off gets approved and I lie on the couch, and instead of feeling rested I feel tired in a different way. A new tiredness on top of the old one. Why does it feel worse after I've successfully gotten the day? I felt heard. But also like I didn't. Something is missing. You got the day off, but you didn't get permission. I let that one sit. Because the day off was the small thing. The big thing was the permission to be a person who sometimes gets tired without a reason. That permission, I never got. And the strange reason story doesn't grant it. It just rents the day off, like a borrowed coat. The next time I'm tired without a reason, I'll need a new strange story. It's not less real for that. But it doesn't get the same treatment. It doesn't get the day off. It doesn't get the sympathy. It just gets to sit there inside a person who has learned to dress it up as something more legible. A sick dog. A cousin. A flat tire. The body knows what it needs. The mind builds the receipt. The dog wasn't sick. The person was. And then who was that for? The strange reason wasn't for the boss. It was for the person writing it. What does that mean? The person had to convince themselves first. Before they could ask anyone else. That one stayed with me for a while. Looking back, it's true. The strange reasons I made up, most of them weren't for the people I was sending them to. The boss never even read them carefully. The friend who I cancelled on accepted the cousin story without question. The teacher who got the dog email probably forgot it within the hour. The audience was me. I was writing the story so that I could believe I had a reason. So that I could rest without guilt. So that the part of me that whispered you didn't earn this would have a sentence to argue against. I made up evidence for an inner court that wasn't even mine. Some judge installed in childhood, still ruling years later, demanding paperwork I shouldn't need to file. That's what a strange reason is. Not deception of others. Self-defense against an old voice. It's not lying to the world. It's lying to a part of yourself that hasn't been told yet that you're allowed to be tired. I'm tired. That was always enough. So how am I supposed to rest? Maybe just take the day. And let it be small. You mean don't make up a reason? If you can. Sometimes you can't. The world doesn't always make space for honest tiredness. So the strange reasons are okay. They might just be survival. Just notice when you're reaching for one. Maybe the permission you have been waiting for never had to come from outside. That last line stayed with me longer than I expected. Because I've spent so much energy collecting receipts. Sick dogs. Cousins. Flat tires. Each one a small lie that I half believed because the alternative was admitting I was tired without permission. I read something a long time ago. Someone wrote that we don't have to earn rest. That rest is not a prize we get after proving enough. That somewhere along the way, we were taught to trade our tiredness for receipts, and to feel guilty when we couldn't produce one. I don't know if I believe that yet. But I notice now, when I write a strange reason message, that I'm doing it. I see myself reaching for the dog. The cousin. The flat tire. And sometimes, lately, I stop. And I write something else. I'm tired. I need a day. And I send it. And my hand shakes a little. Because I'm waiting for someone to say that's not a real reason. But mostly, no one says that. The world is more forgiving than the voice in my head trained me to expect. The dog never had to be sick. I was tired. That was enough. That was always enough. But the body keeps knowing. Somehow. Anyway, cross-reference. What tiredness costs when it has no certificate. End of file.